Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, April 30th, 2024 Public Works Committee meeting. Now is time for roll call and determination of quorum.
Here.
Pettigrew.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Roseland.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Now it's time for adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Roseland, a second by another councilman. So, who was it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now is time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And we do have one general public comment speaker. If you'd like to take the dais, give us your name.
Okay, right mic here? There we go. Oh, cool. All right, so my name is Carla Schanzenbach, and I know my issue has a little bit more to do with legal and finance, but we do have the fire department here and stuff, so I'm going to throw it out here. I represent Peace Lutheran Preschool. We have been trying to start a preschool for about 2 years since our part-time program closed down. And in 2023, the state legislature, bless their hearts, changed some of the preschool licensing requirements to make it easier. Those rules are now being implemented, and there is quite a bit of confusion when we have tried to deal now with the city about our licensing requirements. We thought there would be an opportunity to operate unlicensed until we were able to maybe make some facility changes. But we're being told that we must be licensed unless we're going to operate less than 4 hours a day. So one of the things then when we put in our application, we had to do a floor plan, and we also now have to have a plan to tie into the fire department with a pull-down alarm. It's about $7,800 to get that plan. Our application cannot be moved forward unless we do that. In addition to that, if we get the alarm, it should be maybe around $50,000 or more, and hard telling how much time it would take for us to be able to get that installed. In addition, we were told that potentially we would have to have a deluge system or fire suppression system installed in our church, and that's going to be well over $100,000. So my question, I guess, is, are we being told the right information? Must we be licensed at this point in time? Because I am having somebody relook this over at the state level and have the LRC researched up there, because the understanding that the representative had is that there was an opt-out option. So number one, are we getting all the right information? Number two, are we really going to require people trying to do preschools to meet these requirements? Are we being told something that maybe there's some other options out there? Is there anybody who we can maybe go to get clarification? So right now I'm just using this as an awareness opportunity. I'll probably speak at Legal and Finance and the City Council. So that's kind of where I'm at today. Obviously, if anybody knows anything that can help me, I would be very interested in speaking to them. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, and I would advise you maybe to have a conversation with Chip after the meeting. Okay, thank you. You can, go ahead.
Ma'am, what, you said that was passed in 2023?
My understanding from when we're trying to deal with the people on licensing is that there are new rules being implemented from 2023, not 2024, right now on the licensing requirements. I've asked Tina Mullally, I've spoken to her about those. She is aware that there were changes made at the state level, but she was pretty sure there was supposed to be an opt-out option for people who did not want to be licensed. In our dealings with people from the city, there is a lot of confusion. We've been told a lot of different things, but at this point we're told that unless you are operating less than 4 hours a day, you must be licensed. And then if we do that, we must meet all the requirements of the city.
Okay.
So that is currently what I'm being told. I do have people looking at it at the state level, but right now from a city level, we are really, it seems like if this is going to be part and process for everybody, unless you're building a new building, I would think that this would tend to be very difficult for people to continue to stay in the preschool business. And I realize there is a little bit of difference between daycare and preschool, but I'm using them interchangeably right now. Okay?
Is it your understanding that the rules are promulgated by the Department of Social Services then? Is that the agency that's in charge here?
I believe so. I'm going to have the lady that dealt more with the the entities themselves try to speak at the city council. And we called to a lot of different places. It was obvious that people were not quite clear on how these new rules were supposed to be implemented. So I think it's early days, and if we can kind of get a handle on this, maybe it's not as burdensome as it appears. But right now it is, driven through the social services.
Okay.
And then we are then required to meet the city requirements, which also have the fire marshal requirements.
Okay, thank you.
And Chip, could I ask you one question? Is there a minimum number of kids requirement before we meet some of these regulations for fire suppression and fire alarms? And because I'm trying to figure out how some of these in-home daycares that do 10 or 12 kids could ever afford to do that.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
the daycares, like the in-home daycares, they haven't been all licensed and going through us. And there are some things that we had to make sure that things are safe. Because I've had a daycare fire, and luckily the neighbors and passerby stopped and helped get the kids out of the house. Otherwise, it would have been not a good deal. So we work with the state, and we are having a meeting with the state next week probably to go through this scenario, what's going on, because there has been some confusion on things. And when things are required, like say fire sprinklers, we've given people timelines too to do it. And
I think the one thing that just worries me is right now we have a daycare crisis, I would say. And if we make it more restrictive through the city and more costly through the city, all that's going to do is make this issue that we have already a bigger problem. And a lot of these larger daycares are going under because they really can't afford to do that anymore because the costs are getting so expensive. So, it's just kind of a catch-22. The more and I get that. We don't want to have a daycare fire. We don't want to have people, but I think that we're probably going to end up having to find some kind of compromise on this, because if we make it too restrictive, all we're doing is shooting ourselves in the foot.
yes,
So-
for sure, and Mr. Chair, sorry.
All right.
We've been working with, and we try to be as flexible as we can. We like to review things, but we haven't changed anything on how we're doing things at my office or at the fire department. It's been the common practice. It's nothing new that we're imposing. It's been the common practice of how we.
Oh, I know what your common practices are. I've been here a few years.
One or two.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead. You can take the podium. It's an interesting conversation as long as the
yeah.
people on the dais don't mind.
This will be very quick. I just do want to say, we cannot move our application forward until we have to pay for a plan, $7,800, to put in the fire alarm. And they will not move our application forward until we pay for the plan to put in the fire alarm. So we also are in a quandary. And so it's an awareness. I realize where we are, and the fire department and people have been very, very kind. So I'm not complaining about that, but do understand, we can't even move our application forward. And they say there are grants for things, but they won't tell us where we can get grants until we move our application forward. So anything we can do to help, I really greatly appreciate it. And I do understand it's a time of transition and confusion. So I do thank the fire department and everything, but I'm just saying where we're at, okay?
And I would still recommend after this meeting to have a talk with Chip, so thank you. So we will. Something? Go ahead.
That's at the state level, I just clarification? Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, we're in the catch-22.
All right, thank you. So I will close general public comment. We'll move on to consent items, items 1 through 24. I will open them up. Is there anything that anybody from the dais or anybody, Dale, is there anything that you would like to talk about? If not, I would like to pull 12, and then if there's no other, I'd look for a motion. Have a motion by Councilman Mayar, a second by the other councilman. And all in favor? All opposed? Item 12. Approve change order 1 to J.V. Bailey Company Incorporated, project number 3731, CIP number 5045 or 445-23C for an increase of $166,359.35. And if I can just ask a question to our Public Works Director. I was just looking through this and I noticed what a large change order this was, and I just was hoping you could explain it to us.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you're aware, the current project on St. Joseph Street is for spall repair and panel replacement of the concrete roadway there. In addition to that, we did some valve replacement work. This change order is entirely for additional spall repair. So the condition of the street from the time that we originally scoped and bid the project has deteriorated even further. So we were able to get in there, do additional repairs to the roadway. So I would consider this value added. We fixed more roadway than we'd originally anticipated, which will provide our traveling citizens and visitors a better roadway, hopefully for years to come.
And there's no problem working around within the CIP to move this money? Because like I said, it was like 20% plus increase.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have a contingency item that we'll be drawing from to cover this additional cost.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If there's no other questions, go ahead. You may.
So this is on St. Joe. It looks like, is the work completed? Are we just waiting for the concrete to cure now, or do you know when you might be able to open up St. Joe?
I think Mr. Hall, our city engineer, can answer those questions for you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for the question. We spoke with the contractor yesterday, and right now, if the weather holds out, I always have to say that little qualification, they should be pulling the traffic control by the end of the week to open up the 3 lanes on St. Joe. There will still be some work on the side streets to do with the crosswalks and things like that. They did a great job of not impeding more traffic than they had to, but we're expecting all the work to be done about a month ahead of schedule, so.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Yep, very nice, thank you. If there's no other questions, I'd look for a motion. We got a motion by Councilman Roseland, a second by Councilman Mahar. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Sorry. Now we'll move on to non-consent items. I will open public comment. We have 2 speakers on public comment for item 26.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Cale McNabo. I'm with Long Branch Civil Engineering, the design engineer in this project. What we've brought forward to you on item number 26 is an exception to the criteria manual to not improve a portion of the off-site road leading in to Zion subdivision. It's a Zion church off of Highway 16. There's access off the highway to the church parking lot when we started this project, it was a gravel road for about 800 feet from that church access down to the access to Zion subdivision. Zion subdivision itself, we've designed to meet the city's criteria manual. That's 20 foot of asphalt, curb and gutter on each side, water line, the sewers doesn't pertain to this project, but so the improvements within the limits of Zion subdivision meet the city's infrastructure design criteria manual. It's the 800 feet of essentially what was gravel road leading into Zion subdivision, which is on the church property. That was, when this project started, a gravel section. What we proposed to do, and was approved in the design back when we approached this as a private street, we're looking at an asphalt surface which is 20 foot wide, which meets the criteria manual, but it does not have curb and gutter on each side or a centerline crown. So the exception that we've brought forward today is to not improve that 800 feet located on the Zion Lutheran Church property to full conformance with the criteria manual, which is additionally would be the addition of curb and gutter and a centerline crown to the street section. I believe that we've had an opportunity to speak with a number of you on this project, and you can see, if we've had the site meeting, that a lot of the drainage infrastructure right now currently sheet flows north to south across the existing gravel road before this project started and enters the ravine to the south of this right-of-way. When this project is done, what we're proposing is a 20-foot asphalt surface, 3% super elevation, so it slopes north to south, similar to what it does today. Pave it with this 20-foot asphalt surface, and then the runoff from the Zion property adjoining to the north would continue along its original drainage path, trending north to south and end up where it was previous. I would like to point out that as soon as we get into Zion subdivision proper, the part that Mr. Bradsky and his affiliate company own, we are looking at a full curb and gutter section, full asphalt on that portion of it. But that conveys all of our stormwater that's getting created as part of the subdivision down to a centralized location in the cul-de-sac, where we've picked it up and installed storm sewer and put a storm sewer system all the way to the bottom of the ravine so that there's not future erosion style problems happening from sheet flow. Mr. Bradsky's already paid and the contractor's already installed the pipe that conveys stormwater all the way down to the bottom of the ravine within the subdivision proper. So really the request is I would request approval of the exception to the criteria manual, figure 2-9 of the criteria manual, to exclude the construction of the curb and gutter and the centerline crown per the applicant's request. I believe Mr. Bradsky's here too, if you'd like to address that issue.
Hi, as Cale said, my name is Paul Bradsky, and I'm here on behalf of Sky Properties, LLC. I just wanted to thank you guys for those of you that came and looked at the site with us, and if you have any questions, appreciate your time coming out. And Cale has a much more detailed answers than I do, but if you have any questions for me, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll close public comment. We'll move on to items 25, request from Rapid City Sports Commission for the removal of yard waste and recycling containers from the remote yard waste site located adjacent to Fitzgerald Stadium for the duration of annual tournaments, specifically Veterans Classic from May 30th to June 2nd, 2024, Firecracker July 3rd to July 7th, 2024, and SD 16U State Baseball Tournament, August 1st through 4th, 2024. Removal dates will include 2 days before events begin and 2 days after events conclude to allow for removal, cleanup, and resetting activities. Do I have anybody that wants to speak on this? Go ahead, Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may recall, last year we had a similar request, and I think that was just for the Firecracker tournament. I believe last year it went really well, so I I think this request to expand that is a very appropriate request, and we're happy to accommodate the activities over there at Fitzgerald, and would request your support on this item. I see D'Amico's here. I don't know if he has anything to add to that, but like I said, operationally it worked well, and we're in support of this.
Thank you very much. Councilman Stroman?
Move to approve, and if I could get a second, retain the floor briefly. Thank you. I just wanted to thank Dale and the Public Works for taking care of this last year. That was a request from some state, the firecracker, but I think there was also one for the Central Plains last year. So they've done it a couple times, and if you're willing to accommodate them and you're pleased to do it, I think we should go ahead and get that taken care of. It puts a better, gives us a better look at the stadium area.
Thank you very much, and if I can just have 1 second too. I thought last year it was great that we did this. I think it's great that we're expanding this, because during these big tournaments, you know, we as a city and the city as a whole has made a huge investment out there, and I think that, you know, it was always kind of embarrassing to go out there and have all of those right in front of there, and especially all of our out-of-town and out-of-state visitors. So, and also the fact that we need that for parking. So it's a great thing. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that forward. And we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion by Councilman Stroman, a second by Councilman Maher. Sorry. Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 26, appeal denial of exception 24EX023 from Paul Bradsky on behalf of Sky Properties LLC to not improve a roadway per figure 2-2 of the IDCM. And I'll look for a motion. Mr. Pettigrew, if you got the floor.
Could I ask Dale, please, what their thought process is in denying this application, please?
Go ahead, Dale.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have Roger Hall and Todd Petkosh from our engineering services field those questions. They're much more familiar with this project than I.
And actually, I'll pass it off to Todd. He's been intimately involved with this. But when we started this process, this was a private road, and we had no objection to it being a narrow street. But since then, they've turned it over, and it's going to be a public street to be owned and maintained by the city, accessed by our garbage trucks and by our fire equipment and everything else. And at that point, I'll turn it over to Todd, and we feel it's appropriate that it be built to our city standards for a normal residential street to infill this little piece.
Sure. So basically, when we looked at this, you'll notice that the west section of this road is also what's an urban roadway with curb and gutter. And so at the end of this, we're going to have an urban roadway on the west end. We're going to have an urban roadway on the east end. And this section in the middle, if you've driven it, this section line, which was just essentially a private driveway. So the embankment what's there today was never built to any standards. As you cross the ravine, you'll notice that the side slope is extremely steep, steeper than any embankment that you would build even for a rural roadway. So we felt that the curb and gutter, maintaining that curb and gutter urban section through for the whole project was better for the public in general, partly because of the inadequate embankment for a rural roadway.
Any other questions, Rob? No. Anyone else have any questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I think I'm in for a motion, if I can get it.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd move to approve the variance and reverse the recommendation from Public Works, and if I can get a second, I'd like to retain the floor.
Have a motion and a second, and you can have the floor.
Thank you. And I'm one of the people that went out and visited at the site with, and I think some other council people did as well. And I have a firsthand view of what is going on out there. And there is, like Mr. Prakash said, there is curb and gutter on the west end, and then it goes down the hill to a cul-de-sac, which has curb and gutter and storm sewer outlets. And we're talking about 800 feet in between, where there has been natural drainage for years that have come down from the north, goes across that gravel road into a ravine where I think is a good place for it to go. I don't want to put in curb and gutter there because I think then we're going to end up trapping it and it goes down into the cul-de-sac and is going to have to be dealt with at the, even though there's probably capacity there right now, you never know when we get some of these gully washers, what's going to come through there. And the plan, as I understand it from the engineer, Mr. McNamara, is that there would be a super elevation there from the north to south, and the natural drainage would stay in effect. It would go across the blacktop, unobstructed by curb and gutter, and it would just continue to flow through into that deep ravine where it's not going to bother anybody. And I think this is the type of deal where we would be, and I also know that the width of the street is sufficient to allow the city equipment to get in there if they're going to do snow removal or garbage pickup. And so I don't see any reason why we couldn't just leave that. I think it'd be better actually to leave that without curb and gutter on that 800-foot stretch. And I think there's only going to be 3 or 4 houses down there in the cul-de-sac 4. So I don't think that this is really going to be some sort of a public outcry where we have to have curb and gutter there. So I'm strongly in favor of granting the variance, and I'll yield the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Roseland, do you have the floor?
Thank you, Chair. I was also one of the council members who went down there, spent an hour with Mr. Bradsky and Mr. McNamara, and they gave a great explanation of what their plan was and why they're requesting this, that would be, have no curb and gutter and road in that area, and for the same reasons that Mr. Stroman brought up, that the natural drainage would go right directly down into the gully there. And so I really feel like that with the explanation I got from Mr. Bradsky and Mr. McNamara, I feel like that I will have an idea where I'm going to vote, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If no one else is in the queue, we have a motion by Councilman Stroman, a second by Councilman Maher. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Item 27, appeal of partially denied exception 24EX013 from Jonathan Looper on behalf of Ameris Group to waive the requirement to install water main, sewer main, storm sewer, pavement, curb and gutter, and streetlight conduits in North LaCrosse Street as part of the required subdivision improvements. Go ahead, Mr. Tech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received another request from the applicant to have this item continued to the May 14th Public Works Committee meeting.
I'd look for a motion for that.
Move to continue to May 14th, Public Works.
Have a motion by Councilman Stroman, a second by Councilman Roseland. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.